You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN, welcome to the new world. Star Assurance, creating smiles since 1985, celebrating 30 years of solid partnership. Are you a public service worker and need a loan to meet that dire financial need? Here is some good news for you. Apply for a loan from Bank of Africa and you are sure of getting your loan approved within 48 hours. Enjoy up to 5 years to repay. Get a discount on fees and ultimately start repaying the loan after 3 months. Yes, that is some good news from Bank of Africa. Visit any Bank of Africa branch nationwide for further inquiries. Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. Now, on Sundays, the footballers meet at the park. The Mutual guys at their joint. The church folks share the grace, and friends and family come over to visit. But with MTN Sunday Special, your Sunday just got more special. For only 50 pesos, you can text and talk all day, every Sunday. So who is it you love talking to? Is it your mom, dad, sister, brother, or that special somebody? Just keep talking all day, every Sunday with MTN Sunday Special. Send the word YES, Y-E-S, to MTN short code 5050 to sign up and say welcome to the new world. MTN, everywhere you go. Star Assurance, if you're talking about the risk that exists in this world and the dangers that also exist in this world, that is the place where they make you feel as if these don't exist at all. They have 30 years of experience to share with you, so you can be assured that nothing will go wrong. Log on to starassurance.com or visit any of their offices nationwide. You could call them on 030220632. Star Assurance, that is your solid partner. Now, shall we talk about some matters briefly regarding education, economy, agriculture, put them together. And I want to invite my guests to tell me what specific things about education, specific things about agriculture or the economy that they paid attention to, which deserves some assessment or some commentary. I think I'd like to start with you, Dr. Park, on this issue.
So I got to pick and choose any of the topics you've stated.
All three, if you want to deal with them: agriculture, education, economy.
Well, first of all, I think that given my background, I think I would start with education.
Okay.
And it was very clear in the President's State of the Nation's address and has been testified by many others who were watching from different parts of the country and some beneficiaries of this government's educational policy in Parliament, that indeed the NDC government has invested massively in education, much more like it has done in other sectors of our system. You recognize that education certainly is the avenue through which we don't only add value to ourselves, but it also serves as a basis for us to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. It gives all of us opportunities to be able to explore our full potential as citizens and to contribute meaningfully.
So let's go to the figures. 200 community-day senior high schools across the country.
Yes.
He says that's the biggest ever intervention in the area of education made by any government so far. And he says out of that number, 4 of those schools have been completed. 123 are at different stages of completion.
Yes.
He talks about over 54,000 school children from 4 different regions of the country. In the 10 regions, having been enrolled into various schools under the free compulsory basic education program, among other issues, you know.
Yeah. So rightly so, as you have indicated. I mean, it was part of the campaign promise that His Excellency President John Mahama made to ensure that we provide more access to education. You recognize that ours too is a very youthful population. So whilst, you know, we have been having a lot more young people coming up, the opportunities for education were lagging behind. And I think this is one of the reasons why
4 out of 200 completed. Is that possible
the
before,
others
before the elections, because that was a promise?
They are at various stages of completion. And
all of that will be done.
I can tell you that
all of that will be done in the next 8 months.
As the days and weeks are rolling by, more and more of them will be commissioned.
It has taken us 3 years to complete 24.
I gave you the example earlier on of the fact that there is one in my own constituency, in Kanjaga, where our ethnic group has been wrongly used, whose name has been used to name the Bulsa people, by virtue of the fact that most of the Bulsas who traveled from Bulsa land were from that village. It is at the lintel level. And it is true that if you go around and truly go to the sites where these schools are being built, they are at various stages of completion. And that is a fact. Of course, the construction didn't start at the same time with all of them. So you can't expect that they would all be completed and commissioned omnibus. So when the president says that they are various stages of completion,
10,000
I think that
10,000 school supplies.
He's being right.
10,000 school supplies distributed to over 30,000, you know, teachers, distributed to schools, and over 30,000 teachers have received ICT training. Should we be talking about this as an achievement? 10,000 supplies.
Well, you must recognize that the president has an obligation, and some have argued to the contrary, to present the state of the nation. Education is a very important component of what is expected. So if you can increase access, not only for our wards, our sons and daughters, and you can also then make provision to upgrade those that we expect to impart knowledge to them, I think it is worthy of being mentioned. And we live in an age where everyone knows that having an understanding and the use of modern technology is a necessary component.
2 more universities in the eastern region.
High quality education.
Donkokrom and Somaya. That's also good news.
I think so, because I mean, as we are giving more access at the basic level, we must also be making provision to increase spaces at the tertiary, at the tertiary level.
This is not campaign.
And it is not just about the fact that we have a policy of ensuring that every single region in Ghana is a beneficiary of a university. Okay. But we are also even going on to convert our polytechnics into technical universities with the hope that it would also reduce the pressure and would also offer access to those who want to become experts in technical education, to have access to university degrees comparable.
And government will build an Islamic teacher training college. Why is government interested in building an Islamic teacher college?
Well, we are a very multicultural and, if you like, a society that accepts people from various faiths. And therefore, if it has become necessary to make provision for that, I really don't see anything wrong with the support.
That will be run rather by the
an Islamic
by the particular religious faith rather than the state running it.
Well, it has been requested and it is being granted.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, Nana.
Yeah.
On education.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Or you wanted to you wanted to go to some other area?
No, it's okay.
I said education, agriculture.
Oh, but I never got to speak about agric.
Don't worry, I'm managing the time in such a way that you could get to speak again.
Well, let me deal with education because that's what he started. You know, a lot of these projects have been disputed. Even multimedia is running series of stories on the gap between what the president said has been done and the situation on the ground.
One instance, please.
No, not just yet, but
as far as education is concerned.
No, not just on education.
You're saying a lot of them. That's why I'm saying.
No, you've done some on roads. Multimedia is on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not a lot of them. When it comes to roads, there are 2 roads that are being pointed to. Not a lot of them.
So far, and education to some.
1.
Okay, so far, and it's still ongoing, and you get in all these reports all the time. But be that as it may, the president said it's the biggest intervention in terms of access in secondary schools. You see the propaganda again.
But that's facts.
But what you are doing is day schools. These are not the same scale as, say, Ghana National, where my man went to.
No, I went to London. Fabel went to Ghana National.
Okay. This is not the same scale as, say, GSTS. It's not the same scale as Adisade College or Pokuwari. So when you come and tell Ghana, this is the biggest expansion, and do the propaganda, then you run into trouble. It is good. It is good. It is good that you are building this.
And can you answer that? Is it not?
I'm saying it is good.
What
was the biggest?
Biggest intervention as far as educational facility provision is concerned.
But you are comparing apples and oranges, because you are talking of, when you say secondary school,
within a term of a government.
But look, let me mention this fundamental point to you. This business about the 200 secondary schools was a reaction to Nana Akufo-Addo's policy of 350 schools. They said, oh, we'll provide access, and that we'll do 200. It wasn't even part of their, it was a reaction to Nana Akufo-Addo. So Nana Akufo-Addo's theme of building 350 schools as part of his free SHS policy is what has triggered this. But it is good. But you see, you said you do 200 in 4 years. In 3 years, you've completed 14. Even if you completed 2, it's an addition to education infrastructure, even if you completed 2. But it is the propaganda that makes even what you've completed difficult. Because you told us that you are going to complete 200 in 4 years, and you've completed just 14 in 3 years. So there's a problem. Then you say you are going to do the free, they announced, the president himself, that in Parliament, 2014, that he was, because of all these assets, he was now ready to start the free SHS in 2015. And as we speak, they said they've started the free SHS. Now, the fees that they themselves have announced for the day schools is 405 Ghana cedis. The monies that they are paying is 114 cedis, and yet they are calling it free. I mean, such blatant falsehood, and yet still they speak it with confidence. You can't imagine. You said you provided the access. When another said free access, you said, oh, no, we need access. And what is the access? We're going to build 200. You build 14, and yet you feel it's enough access. So you're going to now launch the free SHS, boldly announced in Parliament. Even the free SHS. It was
your major campaign promise.
Yes.
You were rejected. The NDC is doing it.
Yeah.
Why should you be concerned? Since you were rejected because of some of these things, because they were thought to be panic and desperate political campaigns. Yeah. And the NDC has come, though he condemned it, it has done it, you know. And when you talk to them, they try to rationalize it in a way that's a bit absurd. You know, see, if you are rejected because of this and they are doing it, keep quiet and allow them to do it.
Something, I don't know why we're rejected. I mean, nobody knows what, or the totality of events that influence people to vote. So let's put that aside. And what I'm saying to you is that they said that we were not ready for free secondary school education because we didn't have enough access. You agree? And so they said, when another said 350, they said, well, for access, they were going to do 200. You've done 14. And so you are telling Ghanaians that the 14 that you've done now provides the adequate access to start the free. You know, 14 out of 200, and you say the 14 is sufficient.
But it was even done simultaneously.
Be that as it may, even the free that you said you've launched, you are paying 114 cedis out of 403. So how is that free? You try to think about it, you go mad.
Right?
The propaganda is just too much. This business about it, we are establishing the university, and you talk about jobs. One minister of state, one of our PAC's colleagues, he said that, in fact, the main reason why there are so many joblessness is because too many universities. You know, so APAC was going on and on. I'm like, hey, well, maybe they'll provide a job.
Okay, Doc, maybe you keep to economy and some other matter. Yeah.
Yes, so obviously I will speak on the economy. Yes, I think the economy is very important. issue that we have to discuss. It's interesting that these days it doesn't play out so well in the president's speech. I mean, the economy. Usually would have first heard about inflation rate, would have heard about interest rate, would have heard about the debt stock, the stability of the CD, and the growth.
Away from that
the growth rate of the economy.
It's at the West.
Yes, but you go through the document and you can see very little of those things. But these.
But you remember the unprecedented economic growth that APAC.
Okay, hold on. Yes, go on.
Yes, yeah. So, but we cannot push it to the back burner. We cannot push it aside. It's very important. I mean, assessing the president, one of the key things that we need to assess the president on is how has the economy fared under the 3.5 years of his regime. Of course, when we talk about fiscal consolidation, there seems to be very good progress with fiscal consolidation. You could clearly see that the commitment on the part of the finance ministry, on the part of the government, is quite impressive. The IMF had come out to pat the government on the shoulders that it's doing well with regard to fiscal consolidation and all that. Of course, the government didn't have much choice. So long as you are within an IMF program, you need to ensure that you stay within. Otherwise, the monies that are due you will not be released. So government is doing everything possible. But I think that fiscal consolidation has to be backed with concrete complementary policies that help the real sector of the economy. Because if you achieve fiscal consolidation, you achieve a target of 5.3% budget deficit, or you achieve economic growth, what we call inflation of 8.5% by the year 2017, and your fundamentals, your productive structures are very weak. In no time, you come back to the instability again, because that has to support whatever stability that you're achieving with regard to this macroeconomic environment. But you realize that the whole delivery touched very little on the other side. Interest rates, now it keeps going up. It's about 30% thereabout. It's even much worse within the microfinance and the other informal sector, about 60% and thereabout. What is the government doing to reduce the level of interest rate? Because this is a key cost to production. It is a key cost to doing business in the economy. And therefore, if you want to grow the economy, if you want to be able to expand or accelerate economic growth, the investors want to see your interest rate coming down. Investors want to see your inflation levels coming down. These are key critical macroeconomic indicators that are very important. And we expect the president to actually talk about them, come out with more pragmatic policies. How are we going to ensure that over the next few months ahead of us, interest rates begin to come down? Of course, if you are able to achieve fiscal consolidation, which means that you are likely to reduce borrowing, domestic borrowing, that will somewhat bring the interest rate down gradually. But the response has been too slow for my liking. With the fiscal consolidation over the last 2-3 years.
Expensive utility bills, but because of the relative stabilization of the energy situation,
right,
it's all going to help. So you don't factor all those in.
Obviously, it's going to help, but you're talking about that interest rates seems to counter whatever progress that we are making with respect to energy stabilizing, because people need to be able to expand, they need to be able to borrow at a much competitive rates. The other supporting infrastructure has to be there to support that. That said, the other sectors of the economy, manufacturing sector, over the last 3-4 years has been the most disappointing in this economy. This year is projected to actually grow by a -2%. I mean, what is it government is doing to help revamp that sector, the manufacturing sector? The agricultural sector is doing abysmally, bad. It's not doing well at all. What is it in the policy document that is going to revamp, or what kind of contingency policies do we have in place with
the president talks about distribution of 5 million high-yielding coffee seedlings free of charge to farmers, encouraging the youth to go into cocoa farming with incentives such as free cocoa seedlings and inputs. This will all help.
Something that is great, but we should bear in mind that farming goes beyond just giving out this nursery or the plants. It just goes beyond that. I mean, maintenance, if you can have the seedlings, high-yielding seedlings, all right. But if the cost of maintaining this high-yielding seedling will amount to nothing. The support infrastructure, the irrigation system, we are in one of the driest seasons. What kind of policies are we putting in place to ensuring that the irrigation system is actually working? The productive capacity of the nation, our farmers, you talk to them, and these days, even with the EPA and others that we are signing, it requires that you produce at certain standards. Okay. To what extent are the extension services going on? What are the logistical support?
Well, so, of course, there are questions to be asked if we are giving coffee seedlings free, 5 million of them and all of that.
Yes, but
and wanting to do, he says also that we're going to add value to our gold. We are not going to just export them raw. And he refers to, you know, a manufacturing hub that we have established right here. That's going to help. But it takes my mind to CPC, isn't it? They've been here, and what are they doing now? And importing cocoa beans from other countries. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Abdul Malik would assist us. Perhaps maybe we'll look a bit at the corruption issues and how he dealt with it. Unless he wants to deal with some other aspects. Of course, he has interest in the education aspect. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, and my guest, Dr. Park, Dr. Osei Sibe Eric, and also you have Nana Kumia and also Kweku Bako. Now, Kweku, which are the areas you're looking at? Education and corruption. How do you combine the two?
Yeah, so, you know what? I was a bit disappointed relative to the president's statement on the 200 community schools program. Because what he said was only a repetition of what official government and party communicators have been saying over and over these last few months. 123 at various stages of completion. What does that mean? That didn't have the evidence base that we had seen earlier. Give us locations. Like when it comes to the roads, they mentioned the areas, so you are able to know that, look, it's in this zone, and you can double check. Persistently, consistently, all we are told is 123 at various stages of completion. It's meaningless. It means nothing. Because it's been said over and over again, I was thinking that if the president had decided to go in that direction, then he would offer something of evidential value to back it. But to repeat what the communicators have been telling us all the time, I was really, really disappointed. I have to be honest with you. The truth of the matter is this: somebody is not giving us the actual picture. See, they will not be able to deliver the 200. They will not be able to deliver the 123.
They have doubted that. They have challenged that from day one.
It's not going to happen.
They will prove it by the time we get to the elections.
It is not going to happen. And there are good reasons for that. And people should be just straightforward with us. Look, the original estimates, they faced serious budgetary constraints and challenges. So there have been variations in terms of the original costing. Okay, so they are delivering these projects at a higher cost based on the new variations. That's why there's limited delivery. There may be good reasons for that. So all you do is to stop this thing. Of course, they've stopped talking 200. They are now talking 1, 2, 3. But I'm saying even that 1, 2, 3 lacks credibility because it cannot be delivered. 50, even 50 is good enough. I'm telling you, to deliver even 50 at least, you would. So, come on, let some integrity come to the communication.
The propaganda.
So you see, for me, that's my disappointment there. Otherwise, yes, there are many other measures outlined. There's books, textbooks that will be printed here locally if it's done positive. Okay, 54,000 school children have been enrolled positive. I'm not going to go about saying nothing at all is happening or is being done or everything is said. No, but this area, I am disappointed because I think, and I challenge the Ministry of Education, subsequent to the State of Nation address, to provide us. They can do an advertiser's announcement. I think the state-owned media will print it free for them. And then those of us can then chase the locations and then check. Even though we are not quantity surveyors and the rest, we will get some experts to help us to examine the state of, construction and the extent of completion. I think the ministry must take up this responsibility. There's a certain integrity deficit coming with the communication about 1, 2, 3 at various stages of completion. Now, the anti-corruption thing. Look, Smarties, I was hoping that we would be told that the report would be made public. That's what I was expecting.
The president says that the initial attitude to the fight against corruption was that of indifference, but now there is a refreshing blast of sunlight to stamp out corruption. And this is the president. His government is on track to tackle corruption with determination and fortitude in an effort to stamp out systematic indiscipline.
They've done something. Why? The National Service Scheme, the National Insurance, even though we don't have facts yet, those things, I'm not one of those who dismisses them. They've done something, and it's good. Same way, Kufuor, when information went to his notice about Energy Commission from the National Security Coordinator, caused an audit to be conducted by the audit service. Same way, when VRA workers made noise, same way VRA was investigated. When the president's own conduct was brought into dispute in terms of the residential private residence, as well as the hotel Kufuor so-called, all those things were done. Things that are commendable. The question is whether they were sufficient. And the scheme's question is asked today. I am saying that relative to Smarties, specific, get the Attorney General to publish the report. But you see, there's something that confuses me.
He says he approved the dismissal of 23 judges.
Yes, it's good. And constitutionally, he was enjoying to do so.
Okay.
So it's good. But you see, there's something that I'm confused about, and maybe the legal minds can explain. Judgment death. Unless it was of dubious validity, the payment was of dubious validity, I don't see how you can put that within the context of fighting corruption. I have a problem. There are many of the judgment deaths out there. If somebody is sued government for X amount, and you go to court to litigate it, and you are able to get some reduction,
It should not be celebrated.
And I'm not sure we can put it in the anti-corruption crusade contest.
Okay.
I have a difficulty.
Because it may not be corruption.
Yes,
like
it may not be corruption.
Until the payment was of dubious validity.
Then you can bring that. If it's of the Waterville, Woyome, and those breeder, then you can, there's a hint of corruption.
Okay.
And malfeasance of a sort.
Right.
If the lawyers can explain to me.
No, I think you make perfect sense in that regard.
My last one.
And we have discussed that on this platform before,
so
that what has been put in the green book is actually useful.
Yes, so please, again, communication, consistency. Let's just be fair to the facts. Let's not mix things up. The last one, Gitmo 2, I was disappointed. The president appears to think that what the foreign minister did in the closed session is sufficient. in terms of telling the public what this whole Gitmo 2 is about. The thing became so controversial that I expected a little bit more on the Gitmo 2. It was too scanty and as if it was passing. And that, again, I was disappointed.
Interesting.
Yes.
Now, I'll get to Dr. Park and maybe a comment or two from Nana Kumia if the opportunity allows, then time allows, then Dr. Osei will say something. This one is from Samuel Brian Boabing, and he says, the true state of the nation is that NHIS, Get Fund, DACF, that's the District Assembly Common Funds, etc. payments are in arrears. Teachers, farmers, civil servants, contractors, drivers, pensioners, traders, nurses, doctors, students, what a gloomy picture you are painting, are suffering. When your president touts supply of sandals to a few school kids as his achievement, then you know your country is in trouble. Well, you just be careful before the NDC waves the so far so good thing to you, and they will tell you about how the Kufuor government celebrated monkeys. Okay, then you know the country is in trouble. Ghanaians would do themselves a great deal of this service if they re-elect the NDC back into power. 8 years is enough. 8 years of NDC enough. Samuel Brian Boabing from Awoshi. Thank you very much. And a good friend of mine, Kwame Sapong Esiedu, has a brilliant piece on how to look at the question of legalizing marijuana. And as a pharmacist himself, he talks about a good number of medicines these days that have a component of, you know, all these drugs. So maybe we should look at it carefully. Now, Doc, you said you wanted to be able to take a little bite at which? Is it agric or economy?
Yes, I just wanted to say a few things about agric, but of course, agric is not devoid of the economy. I mean, from our background, the economy is the sum total of what we produce and what we consume, be they goods or services. I think Doctor makes a point which generally I think we must all appreciate. But I think it is precisely for that reason that the President talks about the need for us to transform the fundamentals of our economy. And that transformation cannot happen in as far as we continue to be import dependent. Quite clearly, one of the ways that we can wean ourselves from what the President describes as the booms and bust is to look at investing a lot more in the areas where we have a competitive advantage. So for example, rather than spending colossal amounts of money importing poultry products, you know, we have the policy of the 40,000 broiler project, which quite clearly would save us some very good hard currency. And other products like sugar, I mean, we can also talk about even things like flour. You know, if we can shore up our local manufacturing base, even pharmaceuticals, as we saw in the case of the support that government is providing for pharmaceutical industries like Tobinco, quite clearly that can then help us to not only revive our manufacturing base, but also to save ourselves from spending colossal amounts of hard-earned foreign currency to import some of those produce. So I think, yes, it is not an event, it is a process. So it wouldn't be fair for us to try and paint a picture as though nothing is being done.
Doc, what
to try
do you say?
and
What
address
do you say?
some
You
of
see,
these
I have
challenges.
a little difficulty also. The people who are living these things that we are talking about as things that have been done, well, fairly, you should expect that they should be commenting. And you see, when I was reading text messages, I was like, can I have some others? I'm trying very hard to find people say, you know, endorse what the president said, the things he said to be the true state of the nation.
It is
I'm
precisely
trying very
the
hard.
reason.
Look, I'm now combing through over 60 messages,
Samson.
and I can count the number of things the number of people who are saying things that confirm what the president has to say.
Samson, It is precisely
should
the
be
reason
concerned.
why the president brought people who were beneficiaries
So the people didn't
of
see
some
the
of these
beneficiaries.
developments.
They didn't see the beneficiaries.
Precisely the reason why. I mean, you mean to tell me that that student who has gained access to UMass, who came,
I'm talking about what I'm seeing
was
now.
not
Over
real?
60 messages.
and
just a handful.
That is subjective.
Confirmed
These are
comments. That's-
people's
okay.
personal opinions.
Yes.
And you cannot rule out political biases. You
Okay.
cannot rule that out.
I see.
In this digital age. It is very possible.
Okay.
That
Now,
some people have
right.
been mobilized
Joseph,
to intentionally flood your wall
Joseph Adobo in Cape Coast
with
says,
those kinds of messages.
No.
But I must.
See
I'm
what
still
I've
making a
done.
point.
I've deliberately, out of the over 60 messages, I've deliberately gone to look for these ones, and I'm going to read that to you. Joseph Adobo in Cape Coast says, I think President Mahama was eloquent, as usual, and fantastic in his oratory. But a lot more needs to be done to mitigate the hardship the ordinary Ghanaian is facing. Okay. Again, I'm struggling. I'll look for a few more of what is positive and read to you, but it's difficult to find them. Nana, what do you want to say about economy or agric? Briefly, in 1 minute.
I want to talk a little bit about corruption. Now, you quoted one of the editors of the, you read, he sent me a message. What's his name? Larry. He's the editor of which paper?
Larry, that's the Herald newspaper.
And I said to you that I was going to tell you what Larry has
1
said.
minute.
Yes. Now, this is what he wrote. Senior members, and this was in
This is
July.
Larry, no?
Yeah, the editor of the Herald. Senior members of the party must call the president to order. He should sit up. He needs advice on best practices to save the economy. If handlers keep telling him all is well, that is a big fat lie. They must tell him the truth. Ministers and their deputies are incompetent. Most of them go to nightclubs and shower money. Ex-President Rawlings should call President John Mahama to order. What are we tightening our belts for? Why are we swallowing the bitter pills? Is it for a better tomorrow or internal bickering? Most party members who criticize government have been silent in the party. The guys are not allowed to take part in the party's relevant discussion.
This is Larry Dobe.
There's a gentleman who
That
took
cannot
part.
be true.
There's a gentleman who took part in the JIDA.
Verify first.
We have to cross-check.
There's a
this.
gentleman
give you
who
just a minute,
took part in the JIDA thing. This is his, it's called Edem Senan. This is what he says about the JIDA. After the report has been, nothing was being done. He said, we are being robbed every day. We are seriously being robbed. And I think we need to be more radical about this issue of corruption. We brought all our professional expertise to brought on this matter of JIDA. But it took forever to get people to say we are going to act and deal with the people and the issues in the report. We sat people down and made them recognize that they were paid money for services they never did. And that money should immediately come back to the state. And yet, nothing seems to be done. This is a member of the committee called Mr. Edem Senan. Okay. Now, the president talked about roads. I realized that the president, before the 30,000 kilometers, and the NDC so far has done just about 4,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, we have just run out of time. We have just run out of time. We are just sorry. Yes, sorry. We have just run out of time.
Where are the
Gentlemen, sorry.
To pay attention
we have just
to the
run out of time, and this is where we draw the curtains on the show. Thank you very much for all your comments. Solomon Ananga says that the true state of the nation is that we have in our midst 2 terrorists from Gitmo. Why didn't the president talk about them from Binduri in the Upper West region? Thank you very much. I'm Samson Ayenini. This show is repeated at 9:30 on this platform. My guests have been Kweku Bako, Dr. Eric Osei, Nana Komia, and Dr. Apak. Thank you very much. Clement Apak. Thank you very much. The news is up next.